Hey there, welcome back. A lot of unusual things going on lately. I call them whoppers. But first, this is Frank of Frank and Angie's Retire Early Lifestyle. And we talk about everything that affects our retire early lifestyle, whether good or bad. And there's a lot of unusual things going on. We use the word whopper the way it was originally meant to mean something very big happening. But some very unusual storms going on, and this is a desert. It's supposed to be a desert, but this year it's been raining for like 2 months. We've had 2 times going on, maybe on 3 times as much rain as we typically would get in a desert, and even the locals are saying it's very unusual. So we're getting an unusual number of storms and an unusual amount of rain, and even California is getting, Southern California, Angie says they're getting ready to get a snowstorm in the mountains, which is very strange. But this is a lot of rain. I mean, just an abnormal amount of rain. And people here, this is an area that is short on water. And is anybody collecting any of this rain? People have a water problem here. Literally, not only is the water they have not enough water, but the quality of the water leaves a lot to be desired. And so, but nature gives us all of this replenishment of water. And what do? We just let it go down and waste it. When will humanity ever learn to be good stewards? We can each individually be collecting all of this, and I'm just as guilty of this because a lot of us just haven't been here that long. We haven't been here long enough to sit here. It's not that complicated to collect rainwater. Even for poor folks, you pay a $30 water bill, that's $350 a year. In a 10-year period, $3,500. What can you build for $3,500 that would outlast 10 years worth of water collection? I think you could probably build quite a bit and have lots of water. Water everywhere. It's turning green all over the place. Very unusual. This is usually just totally desert and sand. For those of you that like the desert look, this is just turning into a garden here. Just so unusual, so strange, very, very strange. And to add to the strangeness, just the other day, three oil refining centers in Mexico were blown up. And if you don't think that that's sabotage, 3 of them, and one of them was in Texas, owned by a Mexican company. They were blown up all at the same time. That's no accident. Accidents don't usually happen like that. You've heard the saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. This is 3 of them. 3 of them blew up at the same time in different locations. That's an accident? I don't think so. That's really, really suspicious. Very suspicious and very dangerous. And here's another thing that's the World Economic Forum, WEF, is telling countries not to worry, that they're not trying to dictate to countries, that different countries will be allowed to determine, in other words, be self-determined in how they respond to global events of the day, including all of the things that have happened in the last couple of years. But of course, do you believe them? Do you really believe that their intention is not to be a world dictatorship? Do you really believe that if you're a leader of a country? Do you really believe that? I mean, look at the name, World Economic Forum. That's a top-down system. A top-down system that dictates is what a dictatorship is. How many of these countries do you think are going to get fooled by that? A small number of countries are not getting fooled, but how many of these countries are getting fooled by it? Anyway, moving on. And what about this one, guys? A mysterious white dust falling out of the sky and covering cars and everything around West Virginia and the whole tri-state area over there. And the EPA says call 911. and 911 says, don't call 911. I mean, call the non-emergency number. 911's for, you know, emergencies. You don't know what this stuff is. You would think that the EPA or some of those agencies like that would be taking samples and trying to figure out what this stuff is. But how strange is that? That is just odd, a mysterious white dust. There hasn't been any reports. I don't think there's any volcanoes around there. I know you start seeing white dust around southern Ecuador, there's so many volcanoes, it's usually a volcano. We usually get notified that its volcano has blown, and we were in Guayaquil once and it was this white dust everywhere coming down and it was a volcano, but there's no volcanoes that I know of. If there's a volcano in Virginia or West Virginia, let me know. What do you think about this? This is so strange. All of these things happening at the same time makes it so strange. I'm a part-time real estate investor, so I watched the real estate market. It looks like mortgage applications to buy a house collapsed to an index level that's way lower than the lowest in 28 years. So I watch these guys that do these real estate investments and these real estate purchasing and fixing and flipping and all that. And they're sitting there, they got all these charts and all these websites that they talk about telling you how the housing industry is just fine. But the data tells us something totally different. Mortgage industry applications collapse. What does that tell you? What does that tell you, guys? And on top of that, the Fed is gearing up for a longer than expected inflation fight. Now, what does that tell you? Longer than expected inflation fight. So they're going to keep raising rates, and that's just going to prolong the agony of a down market in real estate and a down market in the stock market. And the 401ks are down well over 20% for everyone. So what is that doing to our retire early lifestyle? And depending on these setups, and a lot of people use either one or the other, the stock market or real estate, regardless of how you do it, it's starting to shape up like a prolonged recession. It's starting to sound like one anyway. And some markets are hotter than others, but the trend has already begun. People leaving big cities and going to smaller towns. And people leaving big cities and going to more affordable areas. That's another trend that has started. And including in that, it includes going abroad. A lot of people do want to do the abroad thing. All right, and this last but not least is a big whopper because it seems to come up on a regular basis. And whenever I talk about it, I think that a lot of people kind of fall into a sort of state of inbox. You know, I only see things in this box, so I'm going to try to help you out a little bit here with seeing some of this other stuff out here on the outside of the box. As usual, that's what I usually do in my videos. And it isn't to minimize anyone's concern, because it is a real concern. And it has to do with healthcare. When people hear the word healthcare, because of the way healthcare is administered in the US, there's no separation between taking care of one's ongoing health and the way you feel every day and separating that from having an accident, you know, falling down the steps or getting into a car accident. Those are two totally separate, different things, and a lot of people don't see them. I'm not saying to disregard the potential of getting into an accident and needing assistance from a hospital or something like that. That would be silly. But just to put things into perspective, let me tell you what I've run into here today. Here's the thing. there are different kinds of accidents. There are auto accidents, and there are statistics that say that Americans will get into, now I don't like statistics because they can be manipulated. For example, if it's a personal injury lawyer talking about accidents, well, he has a vested interest in, for obvious reasons. But when we say from car accidents, we're looking at 3 million injuries per year out of 330 million people of population. Just to put things in perspective, I know some people don't like numbers, but that's only 1%. That's 1% of the population, 3 million people out of 330 million people annually out of car accidents. Then you've got slip and fall. Out of slip and fall, 1 million people injure themselves with slip and fall, which is 1/3 of 1%. So the percentage is even smaller on slip and fall. But get this, the majority of slip and fall accidents are preventable. They're caused by usually walking on slippery surfaces, wet surfaces, icy surfaces. Just being careful will help you avoid this thing. So I'm not saying these people shouldn't go to the hospital. I've never said such a thing, and I never will. So some people won't retire because of fear of accident. And yet, you know, we see that 1% or 1/3 of 1%, and even less if you're careful, and especially if you change your lifestyle and get outside of that commuting lifestyle and constantly being behind the wheel of an automobile. In my opinion, there is an overblown fear of getting hurt in an accident. So just living a slower, simpler lifestyle where you're just much more careful about what you do will put you into 1/10 of 1% potentiality of anything, any kind of, and based on those numbers, why put it at the front and center of your life like it's this big fearful thing? It's just an overblown fear of getting hurt. And even though a lot of people get hurt, it has everything to do with the lifestyle that you live. And if you do get hurt, then be prepared for it, have some accident insurance, or live in an area where ending up in the hospital isn't going to cost you everything you own. I mean, not everywhere on the globe does it cost you everything you own to go to the hospital. Only in America does it cost that, and only in America and places where lots of Americans congregate, which is abroad. Only in those places do costs in hospitals start spiraling out of control. In every other place on the globe, these places cater to locals, so they're not designed to take everything you own in order to just end up in the hospital over an accident. And of course there's the other side of this story of basically being more responsible with taking care of your ongoing daily health. So you see right there that in either case, whether we're talking about your ongoing daily health or getting into an accident, two totally separate aspects of health, we can manage our fear, and we can manage it by controlling the type of life we live and minimizing the amount of fear we live in and actually doing something about it. And one final bit of information that I know you do not want to hear, but some of you do want to hear this. There are multiple times more in number amount of people. There's like 90,000 deaths per year in comparison to 17,000 deaths in slip and fall, and then 50,000 deaths for car accidents. There's 90,000 deaths per year from medical malpractice. We are busy being told we need to fear getting into an accident and be preoccupied with insuring ourselves so that we can afford the very centers that actually cause more deaths than any of those two combined. So again, I'm not arguing against it. I'm just telling you to put things in perspective and perhaps change your life around so that you're not in that high risk percentage of people, so that you don't have to live a life based on worry and fear. Just simply take care of the what if for instance, if it happens situation, but put it in proper perspective. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for coming to the channel and have a wonderful day.